The story begins by showing a Philippine airbase, where a soldier named Kinney is confused between two boxes of drinks. After a while, Kinney is approached by his superior, Sugar, who informs him that in 2 minutes, they will be boarding a helicopter for a mission. Kinney then flew off in a helicopter with Sugar and 2 other soldiers, Bishop and Cooper. The 4 would go to an island in the Philippines to rescue a CIA agent who was captured by a group of Russian arms dealers led by a man named Petrov. They had to rescue the agent because the agent had a lot of information about who Petrov was transacting with. During the mission, Kinney communicated with an airbase in the US operated by a captain named Eddie. Although Eddie is old, his rank has never risen, and he remains a captain. This is because he once failed a flight test. Now, Eddie and his partner Nia are only tasked with controlling the satellite drones that will assist in each mission.
It can wait.
On that day, Eddie's wife was in the hospital going into labor. Therefore, before operating the drone, Eddie asked his men and his superior, Colonel Daniel, to pick up the phone if his wife called.
Stop Lucy, Virgil, it's important.
Upon arrival over the island, Sugar, Kinney, Bishop, and Cooper began to jump from the helicopter. After landing on the shoreline, Captain Eddie and Mia briefed them that the base was 8 kilometers away.
I am your eyes in the sky and the bringer of doom. Playboy 06, this is Reefer 10, checking in.
For his airborne, our location is confirmed.
During the journey to the base, Bishop, an experienced soldier, tells Kinney that there will come a time when all the technology Kinney carries will be useless on the battlefield. All they need is the instinct to kill the enemy, or they themselves will be killed. When they reached a distance of 3 kilometers from their destination, they saw movement behind the bushes. They immediately tensed up, especially Kinney, who started sweating. Kinney asks Eddie to scan the area using his satellite.
100 meters northeast of our position. Come check it out.
Roger that, Playboy, stand by.
Still, when Eddie shifts his drone, the scanner camera suddenly malfunctions. Eddie informs Kinney that he will return the drone to the base for repair. Meanwhile, Bishop and Sugar are ready to shoot, but when they are about to pull the trigger, they discover that the movement is only coming from a wild boar.
Fucking pig, dumbass.
After that incident, the 4 finally arrived at Petrov's base, located next to the dam. They then began to count the number of guards keeping watch at the base. After finishing the count, Sugar, Bishop, and Cooper moved to a closer location on top of a rocky hill for a shootout. At the same time, Kinney chose to hide above the cellar door.
Shug.
Right, this sure looks like our guy.
Just then, they spotted their main target, Petrov, playing in the yard with his wife and son.
Bishop, can you confirm?
When Bishop was about to shoot Petrov with his long-barreled rifle, they suddenly saw 2 cars coming with several heavily armed men.
Kinda looks like Abu Saif.
Apparently, the group was Petrov's client, who was the Abu Sayyaf terrorist group led by Saeed Hashimi.
Who's that? Head of Abu Saif.
Not long after, Eddie reconnected after repairing his drone. Kinney was asked to provide the coordinates of Petrov's headquarters through his communication device. After Eddie got a picture of the base, Saeed Hashimi suddenly shot Petrov in the stomach from behind. This took Sugar, Bishop, and the others by surprise. Within seconds, Hashimi and his troops had taken over Petrov's base. Not only that, Hashimi also cruelly killed Petrov's wife in a very horrible way. When it was Petrov's son's turn to be executed, Kinney immediately asked Eddie to fire a missile toward Petrov's base, hoping that the resulting explosion would distract the terrorists.
Copy. Target acquired.
However, as the missile took 20 seconds to land, an impatient Bishop shot Hashimi in the leg. It wasn't long before the explosion of the missile allowed Petrov's son to escape. As a result of the attack, the whereabouts of the 4 members became known to the terrorist group. 3 terrorists then emerged from the cave door, where right above them was Kinney, who quietly began to prepare his gun. Luckily, before Kinney was shot, Bishop, Sugar, and Cooper first shot the 3 terrorists. Unfortunately, Kinney misplaced the grenade, which caused the cave entrance to explode and cause him to fall. Bishop, Sugar, and Cooper then engaged in a shootout with the terrorists, who began to emerge from all directions.
Kitty, I need...
During the shootout, Cooper was hit by many bullets. Kinney tries to help Cooper, but Sugar insists that Cooper has been declared dead.
What about Abel? Abel is dead. He's dead. I need you to stay focused, Sergeant. Get yourself together.
At the same time, they saw a group of terrorists from a distance who began firing RPGs at them. Kinney then went to an open field to send the location of the RPG attack to Eddie so that Eddie could fire missiles at them. However, since it took 20 seconds, the terrorists had the opportunity to fire their RPGs at Bishop and Sugar.
There's that bomb, Sergeant! 20 seconds.
After blowing up the terrorists, another terrorist suddenly appeared and started shooting at Kinney with an assault rifle. Luckily, Kinney managed to dodge and hide behind a tree. Kinney then tried to contact Bishop and Sugar through his radio, but neither of them answered, which meant that Bishop and Sugar had been declared dead. From there, Kinney began to panic and became confused about what to do. Fortunately, Eddie casually gave Kinney directions to go east, towards the pickup point.
Down to the evac point. The cavalry is on the way.
Or at 500 meters, stand by. Area looks clear. You're good to move.
While Kinney was walking along the river, Eddie and Mia suddenly saw enemy movement. Both of them also asked Kinney to hide in a small cave. Unfortunately, the enemy brought a dog that managed to find Kinney's whereabouts and started barking. Fortunately, the terrorists did not understand the meaning of the dog's barking, so they chose to leave the river. After feeling safe, Kinney then continued his journey to the pickup point. During the journey, Eddie makes small talk and asks about Kinney's hometown. Kinney replies that he lives in America and returned for his father's funeral a week ago. Hearing this, Eddie is silent and feels sad. Therefore, Eddie and Mia promise to help Kinney get home safely.
Oh, man, sorry to hear. You're getting really close now, man. Just keep up the pace. Good work.
When it was getting dark, Kinney finally arrived at the pickup point, precisely in the middle of a field. After waiting 2 minutes, the helicopter finally picked Kinney up. However, as soon as Kinney was about to get on the helicopter, he was suddenly shot by a group of terrorists who were already there. As a result, Kinney chose to take cover behind a tree while the helicopter crew fired back at the terrorist group.
Hostiles 100 meters east.
Contact Blackbird. I have multiple targets around the LZ.
Unfortunately, the terrorist group split into several parts, and one of them started firing RPGs at the helicopter. As a result, the helicopter got into trouble and chose to leave the pickup location.
Playboy, LZ is too high! Back to you as fast as we can!
Seeing Kinney in danger, Eddie sent missiles at the terrorists and managed to kill most of them.
Hellfire, air to ground 114.
However, the attack was not enough to kill all the enemies scattered in the area. and the missiles from Eddie's drone aircraft had run out. Eddie then sent a fighter aircraft to help Kinney. Kinney then asked the aircraft to fire rockets at the enemies to the south. With just one shot, the enemies were destroyed in a massive explosion. However, some enemies were still hiding behind the trees. Therefore, Kinney asked the fighters to fire assault rifles at them and drop missiles.
We still do not have visual on you.
This tactic succeeded in making Kinney disappear from the enemy's sight.
I am Winchester. Hornet 1 is RTB.
Copy that.
Eddie then ordered Kinney to go to the second pickup point, which was quite far away and on top of a hill. Kinney followed Eddie's orders and walked towards the pickup point until morning. As Kinney crossed the river, he accidentally slipped and got his gun stuck in a tree root.
What happened?
Slid halfway down the fucking mountain.
Eddie suddenly reported 3 enemies nearby as Kinney was about to pick it up. Sure enough, the 3 enemies start shooting at Kinney, to which Kinney retaliates with a pistol and manages to kill one of them. However, because the gun had run out of bullets, Kinney chose to run toward the waterfall while the 2 enemies were still pursuing him from behind. And because there was no other choice, Kinney jumped to the bottom of the waterfall and hid under it. After the 2 enemies left, Kinney rested on the rocks. However, before he could rest for long, the 2 enemies suddenly held him at gunpoint. Kinney is then captured, while Eddie and Mia panic as communication with Kinney has been cut off. Kinney was then taken prisoner in a hut. Moments later, a mysterious man suddenly approached the terrorists and shot down 2 enemies who were standing guard there. As it turned out, the man was Sugar, who was still alive. Sugar then freed Kinney while saying that Bishop was still alive but captured and held captive at Petrov's base, which was now fully controlled by Abu Sayyaf. Sugar then motivated Kinney to help him rescue Bishop. After Kinney agreed, the 2 took all the weapons in the hut and started traveling back to the terrorist base. Kinney used an old bottle to create a satellite signal during the journey. He then contacts Eddie through his homemade communication device. Kinney tells him that Sugar is still alive, and now they will return to the base to avenge and continue their mission. But before that, Kinney asks Eddie to contact the specialized bomber unit.
Connect me to CJ Sawdoff.
Long story short, upon arriving at the base area, Kinney started planning to get Bishop out of enemy hands. He contacted Eddie again and asked Eddie to send special ops to drop 3 bombs at the specified locations. Namely, the first bomb was dropped on the basement structure at 11 a.m. Then, after 15 minutes, the second bomb was dropped into the cave. After 15 minutes, the bomb was dropped at the headquarters location, but it had to be a bomb with a large explosive power.
3 strikes, 1100, diversion. 1115, diversion. 1130, we're gonna light that shit up and blow it to fuck.
After giving Eddie directions, Kinney and Sugar began to descend towards the base. Meanwhile, Eddie and Mia get into trouble when Colonel Daniel instructs them to rest because they have been working for over 12 hours. Although Eddie still wanted to help Kinney, he couldn't argue and handed over the task to another captain named Andrew.
Don't fuck it up, Junior.
We got it.
Meanwhile, Sugar and Kinney started walking towards the base and killed one of the guards who was relaxing. The 2 continued to enter the base and accidentally found 2 men watching football. Because the weapons they carried were AKs that would make a loud noise, Sugar decided to fight the 2 guards with a knife. However, in the middle of the action, some terrorists started to arrive, so Kinney and Sugar got into a fistfight with them. After defeating them, the 2 continued shooting at the terrorists. During the shootout, Sugar was shot in the shoulder. This forced Kinney to fight one of the terrorists who tried to kill them at close range. After killing the terrorists, a grenade was suddenly thrown at them and exploded, knocking both of them unconscious. Sugar and Kinney were then captured and locked up in an underground cell with Bishop.
You look like ass.
Yeah, we're gonna pass.
In this position, Kinney tried to tell the terrorists that this place would be bombed out. However, the terrorists ignored him and instead took Sugar out to be executed.
Fucking touch it! Oh, you fucking fuck! You're a fucking coward!
Meanwhile, Kinney, who could do nothing, could only watch Sugar die horribly at the hands of Saeed Hashimi.
Sugar!
I'm good.
After Sugar's death, the first bomb was finally dropped. Meanwhile, Eddie went to the supermarket to buy some food. We return to Kinney, where Kinney is taken out of the cell to be tortured by Hashimi. Hashimi then starts asking for the rest of Kinney's team's location, but Kinney says he's the only one left.
I told you.
This made Hashimi angry, and they started beating Kinney with a hammer. After that, Hashimi asked his two men to kill Kinney by drowning him in the water.
Where are the other commandos located?
There's no more. It's just us.
You are dust. Fucking dust!
At that moment, Captain Andrew began instructing Special Ops to drop a second bomb into the cave structure, where the resulting explosion was large enough that the entire underground room was affected by the explosion, which eventually killed the guards.
2, 1.
But Kinney managed to survive because he was in the water at that time. He then got up and opened a ventilation hole so that all the smoke in the room was sucked out. Kinney entered the room until he found a cell with a CIA agent, their main mission.
Holy shit. You J-Sock.
Without thinking, Kinney freed the agent. After that, he met Saeed Hashimi, who was injured by the second bomb explosion. Because Hashimi couldn't do anything, Kinney managed to kill him easily. After that, Kinney freed Bishop, who was still alive.
Come on, we gotta move.
So soon?
Let's go.
Since there were only 6 minutes left for the third bombing, Kinney tried to contact the air base via Hashimi's satellite phone.
1, this is Sunburn 06. You are inbound to target. 5 mics.
However, the phone was not picked up because Colonel Daniel and his men were busy watching a basketball game. Kinney then tried calling Eddie, who was on the phone with his wife. However, because of Hashimi's unfamiliar satellite phone number, Eddie didn't pick up. Finally, Kinney left a voicemail and exited the cave with Bishop and the agent.
Come on, come on!
With 2 minutes to go, Eddie saw the voicemail on his iPhone notification. Kinney asked Eddie to cancel the third bomb. Without thinking, Eddie went straight to the base. He occasionally calls the office, but no one answers as everyone watches the basketball game.
30 seconds.
With 30 seconds to go, Eddie finally arrived at the base. He then ran to Andrew and immediately said the bombing was canceled right when there were only 2 seconds left.
Phone 01 aboard! Phone 01 aboard! You copy?
As a result, the third bombing was canceled and Kinney, Bishop, and the agent survived. Eddie then sent a helicopter to pick up Kinney. After that, he went to Colonel Daniel, cursing at them and saying that the phone call was not from his wife but from a soldier who was fighting for his life.
Our job is communication. Our priority is protecting the men and women who serve this country.
Eddie then destroyed the TV before leaving with Mia.
Get out of my active duty bonuses, Colonel.
Meanwhile, the medical team secured Kinney, Bishop, and the agent. The three traveled by helicopter to the base.